Welcome to episode 91 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Troy and the story of the Grief of Achilles. Antilochus found the son of Peleus in front of the ships, brooding on a fate which was already fulfilled, though he did not know it. When he saw the Argives approaching the ships, he was troubled and said to himself, "Why are the Achilles running from the field as if routed and flocking toward the camp? I hope the gods have not accomplished what my mother once predicted, that while I was still alive, the bravest of the Myrmidons would die at the hands of the Trojans." While he was still in thought, Antilochus came toward him, weeping because of the terrible message he had to bear, and called to him from afar, "Alas, son of Peleus! Oh, that what I am forced to tell you had never happened. Patroclus has fallen, and now they are fighting for his naked body, for Hector stripped him of his armor." When Achilles heard this, the world turned dark before his eyes. With both hands he took up the brown dust and scattered it over his head, his face, and his tunic. Then he threw himself on the ground, measuring his great length, and tore his hair. Seeing their lord and master stretched on the earth, the handmaids whom Achilles and Patroclus had borne away as spoils rushed out of the house trembling. When they learned what had happened, they beat their breasts with loud lament. Antilochus, too, shed bitter tears, and gripped the hands of Achilles, holding them fast, for fear he would cut his throat with his sword. Achilles himself moaned so greatly with grief that his mother heard his voice in the depths of the sea, where she sat beside her gray-haired father, and she, too, began to weep. At the sound of her sobs, the Nereids glided into her silvery grotto, and beat their soft breasts, and joined in the wails of their sisters. "How unhappy I am," she said to them, "that ever I bore so brave and splendid a son. He grew up like a sturdy young fruit tree, tended and cherished by the hand of the gardener. Then I sent him against Troy, but never again will he return to the palace of Peleus. While he still lives in the light of the sun, he must suffer great grief, and I cannot help him. But I will go to my beloved child, and I will hear what sorrow has overtaken him." So said the goddess, and with her sister she rose through the waves which parted at her coming, and went ashore where her son had sat groaning in front of the ships. "Why do you weep, my child?" she asked him, clasping his head. "Who has stricken your heart with sorrow? Tell me, and hide nothing. Has everything come about as you wished? Are not the Argives thronged in the camp and begging for your help?" With a heavy sigh, Achilles answered, "Mother, what is all this to me now that Patroclus, who was dearer to me than my eyes, is slain and lies in the dust? My own finely wrought armor, the gift which the gods gave Peleus at his wedding with you, Hector has taken from his body. Oh, if only you had stayed forever in the depths of the sea, for had Peleus wedded a mortal wife, you would not have to bear immortal grief for your son who is doomed to die. I shall never return to my native land, for my heart forbids me to breathe and live on among men, unless Hector falls by my lance and suffers for robbing me of Patroclus." Thetis replied in a voice choked with tears. "My son," she said, "then you too will be cut off in the flower of your life, for it is decreed that soon after Hector dies, your own end is near." At that, Achilles cried in anger, "Would I could die this very instant, since fate did not allow me to shield my murdered friend. He died far from his home, and I did not come to his aid. How can my brief life avail the Argives now? I have brought misfortune to Patroclus, misfortune to countless slain friends. Here I sit by my ships, a worthless burden on earth. I, who am supposed to be the best fighter among the Achaeans, though in councils others surpass me. Cursed be anger, whether it spring in gods or men. For a feast it is sweet as honey to the heart, but then it grows acrid as smoke. Suddenly he curbed his grief and roused himself and said, "What is past is past. I go to strike down the man who slew the friend I cherished above all. I go to kill Hector. Let my fate overtake me when Zeus and the gods decree. Because of me, many a Trojan woman will put both her hands to her soft face to dry bitter tears of mourning, and her breast will heave with sighs. The Trojans will find that I have rested long enough. Do not hold me back, dear mother." "You are right, my child," answered Thetis. "Your shimmering armor is in Trojan hands. Hector himself wears it boastfully. But he shall not flaunt his pleasures in it for long. Tomorrow, as soon as the sun comes up, I shall bring you new arms, made by Hephaestus himself. Do not go to battle until I return." Thus spoke the goddess, and bade her sisters dive back into the depths of the sea. But she herself hastened up to Olympus to find Hephaestus, the smith among the immortals. Meantime, the Trojans once more attacked the body of Patroclus, which his friends were bearing away, and Hector, sweeping forward like fire, came so close that 3 times he seized the corpse by the foot to drag it off. But 3 times the 2 Argives thrust him away from the dead. He withdrew to one side, and then halted again, and cried aloud that he would never retreat. Then the 2 Argive heroes, who bore the same name, tried to frighten him off from the corpse like herdsmen who try to drive a hungry mountain lion from the flesh of a mangled bullock. But Hector would have carried off the body had not Iris, at Hera's command, flown to the son of Peleus and bidden him arm secretly, unseen by Zeus and the other gods. "How can I go into battle?" Achilles asked the messenger of the gods. "My enemies have my weapons, and my mother forbade me go before she herself brought me new armor made by Hephaestus. There are no arms which would suit me, unless perhaps the great shield of Ajax, and he needs that himself." "We know very well that you have been deprived of your glorious weapons," Iris answered. "But meanwhile, approach the trench just as you are, so that the Trojans may see you. Perhaps they will pause when they catch sight of you. The Achaeans, weary as they are, need a breathing space." When Iris had sped away, godlike Achilles rose. Athene herself slung her shield across his shoulder and shed radiance on his features. Swiftly he strode, crossed the wall, and stood by the trench. But mindful of his mother's warning, he did not mingle in battle. He only watched from afar and shouted, and Athene joined her cry to his, so that in the ears of the Trojans it sounded like the blare of a war trumpet. When they turned that voice like ringing bronze, their hearts filled with fear, and they turned back their horses and chariots, and the charioteers shuddered to see the head of the son of Peleus circled with flame. 3 times he shouted, and 3 times Trojans scattered. 12 of their bravest men fell in the confusion and were killed by the chariot wheels and the lances of their own companions. And now the corpse of Patroclus was out of reach of the missiles. The heroes laid him on a bier, and his friends stood about its lamenting. When Achilles saw his beloved comrade in arms, he went among the Argives again for the first time, and threw himself over the body with many tears. And on these 2, the living and the dead, the setting sun shed its last glow. And here I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales. Many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.